We notified our faithful. We ourselves had been notified on that Friday that we were going to have to lock down the chapel the next week. So I immediately sent word to all the faithful in the parish, telling them next week the chapel will be locked for the foreseeable future. So if you want to go to confession, the priest will be available tonight and on Saturday. And so at lunch on that Friday, we were speaking amongst ourselves, and I said, I bet there are going to be a lot of people wanting to come to confession tonight. So I asked the priest, I said, would some of you, if we need to, we have 3 confessionals in our auditorium where the parish mission conference was taking place. And I said, would some of you be willing to jump in the confessionals, the 4 confessionals in the main chapel, if there's a need for that? And the priests, it was really edifying actually, the priests were very zealous, and it was almost like everybody wanted a piece of the action. Everybody was happy to help and really wanted to help. There you could see a true zeal, priestly zeal, which was again very edifying. So that night when we came to the parish mission, lo and behold, and maybe people haven't been to our auditorium here, but the line for the confession stretched from confessionals, which were in one corner of the auditorium, all the way back along the back wall of the auditorium, all the way through a vestibule and into our gym, and stretched all the way around the gym. That's how many people wanted to go to confession before the lockdown. And I certainly wasn't going to have them go home hungry. So as soon as the mission conference was over, there were 3 priests in the confessional, and I went up and I announced, there will be 4 priests going over to the chapel to hear confessions. And like that, the faithful immediately ran out to go to the chapel to try to be the first. So I went to assess the situation in the chapel, and I go in, and there were 4 priests in the confessionals there, and each priest had 3 or 4 lines of faithful each. So then I went back to the auditorium to see how many faithful were still in line there, and the line still stretched to the gym. So then I found the remaining 4 priests, and one of them jumped in the 5th confessional in the chapel, and 3 of us went to start hearing confessions in the gym, in the small gym with just the screen confessionals that we use for our retreats. So there were 12 of us hearing confessions that night for a few hours. And then the next morning, which was the faithful's last chance, we had, again, an overwhelming number of people coming for confession. And so, again, I contacted all the priests, and 12 of us started hearing confessions again and heard them for a number of hours, such that we counted up the total number of man-hours of confessions being heard over those 2 days, and it was around 70 man-hours of confessions being heard. And I think that was one of the most edifying things that I've ever seen. Not only, of course, the priest's zeal to want to help the faithful with this impending sacramental quarantine, if you will, but also the zeal of the faithful to want to care about the sacraments enough to want to come to confession. That was probably my favorite story of it all, and I received a very long, beautiful email from a parishioner just explaining how touched they were to witness how this thing transpired, and how the priest just kept coming more and more and more to try to help the faithful, which is expected. We did nothing heroic, frankly. It was just doing what we're supposed to do as priests, but you could see that it made its mark on the faithful.
Please keep the priests of the Society of St. Pius X in your prayers.
And if you are able, please consider making a gift to help support us and the mission of the SSPX.